So I want to begin by thanking the organizers for allowing me to give some brief words on research and innovation imperative for sustainable inclusive development. I know that I'm told I had 10 minutes on paper, so I'm going to try and move as quickly as possible. But we know that the aim of this forum is how to integrate research and innovation into all aspects of sustainable development and create a culture of scientific inquiry which will best prepare St. Lucia and SIDS for the complex multivariate problems of the future. We know the challenges that we face as in SIDS. We won't go into all of them because time is limited, but we take particular note of the COVID-19 and its impact, climate change. We heard already about the problem of the youth and their civic disengagement, and we need to bring them back into the fold, widening inequalities because of the impact of COVID. And at this point, the SDG 10, which calls for a reduction of inequalities, is very critical at this time. And we can only achieve any part of the UN 2030 agenda if we allow research and evidence to inform the policy process. I have to commend, as I prepared for this presentation, I must make some commendations. I realized that there is a science, technology, and innovation policy that is being developed for St. Lucia. There was the launch of the Decade of Research and Innovation 2019-2029, and I'm told that the ministry plans to stimulate and develop a culture of innovative scientific thinking and analysis with nationally driven research studies designed to offer sustainable solution. So this is very good. I won't spend much time on the impact. I think we all know what the impact of COVID has had on St. Lucia, and this St. Lucia COVID report speaks about the large income and job losses, the severe food insecurity, and the limited coverage of social protection programs. And of course, SDG 4, which speaks to the quality of education for all, has been affected, and we know that some children were not able to access virtual classrooms, they didn't have the take-home teaching aids, and so on. So we have to look very carefully at how we ensure that we fulfill SDG 4 because we know that education is one of the ways that we can break the intergenerational poverty. So UNCTAD reminds us that it is crucial, even as COVID is on, that countries reinforce their commitments to protect investment in science, technology, and innovation, and to design recovery packages that leverage technology and innovation for development. And I won't go through this, but I want to tell you, as we begin to think about the impact of COVID on research, as a researcher, I can say to you that a lot of research has been suspended or canceled. Face-to-face research methods have been discouraged. We have new expenses in research now where people need to get money for PPEs and data plans. We have moved our institute to online and telephone media. There is the limitation, of course, for persons with disability, for example. We may not be able to get them as we want. And we as researchers need to be increasingly creative in the conduct of our research as the pandemic will be with us for some time. The challenges of developing R&I in developing countries: we have a limited number of trained researchers. There are financial constraints. The research is mostly donor-led and controlled, so you respond to a bid and you have to work within the parameters of that bid and the conditionalities of that project. Culture in the Caribbean and in St. Lucia too is not supportive of longitudinal research, which is actually the best type of research, where you have baselines and you have monitor and evaluation frameworks, and you can evaluate an intervention. But we're very impatient people. We want to see results as quickly as possible. The Westminster model does not promote R&I because the politicians react to social pressures and opportunities for votes. They don't want to wait for research findings, and so they too have made it very difficult for us. And of course, our citizens are waiting for the state to do everything and don't realize that they themselves can be innovative in their own research and find solutions for themselves. The kinds of research that are needed is timely and relevant research. We need rapid assessments that will fill immediate needs and respond to crises. I spoke already about the longitudinal studies. We need multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary research. We need to look at research in a regional manner where we can join it as a unit of CARICOM, a unit of OECS, and carry out multi-country research and document best practices so that we can learn each other and share our information in a timely fashion. It is imperative that our research is inclusive. Vulnerable groups must be targeted. They must be allowed to participate. It has to be language sensitive, and everybody can speak English properly. So we need to ensure that we have, for example, in St. Lucia, that we have to be culturally sensitive. We need to be gender and diversity sensitive. And as the pandemic is with us, we need to be pandemic responsive and adaptive. We cannot stop research because of COVID, so we need to be flexible, but at all times we must be ethical. We must not lose that part of it. The role of the university, I'm coming to an end. So the role of the university, we need to train and build capacity. The emphasis must be on critical thinking and innovation. We must train the change agents, be change agents ourselves, advocate for change, and that's where we can increase the number of think tanks that we have where we respond and evaluate policies and programs. We must be more involved in public education. And a simple thing that we can do in terms of helping research is to ask ministries to list their research need and submit to the relevant departments at the university. We welcome it here at Salises, and we would encourage our students to carry out the research for the ministry. Students are always looking for topics to explore. So this is one way in which we can support. How do we cultivate R&I? That's an important question. Stephen already spoke about it. We have to completely revamp the education system from early childhood. There's too much regurgitation, not enough critical thinking. We need to develop our critical thinking skills of our young people, reward creativity, and ensure that innovation and creativity are important elements of curriculum development. There needs to be more emphasis on learning through play, because children will learn more if they are more relaxed and they are learning through play. Train community leaders, because especially now that we have COVID is on and we cannot go to the communities, we need to train our community leaders with some basic research skills. And in fact, we need to tell our community members that they are themselves walking databases. They have attitudes, they have perceptions, and Edwin and Catherine told us what they thought and what they didn't think and whether they wanted the vaccine. The community citizens are walking databases full of data. Capacity building needs to be encouraged within state and non-state agencies. We need monies in our national budgets for research, and researchers themselves must make their research more friendly and accessible. We have a way sometimes that we present research in a non-friendly manner. This has to stop. And we have to think of different ways of presentation. For example, we have oral histories. We can think about documentaries, art and cultural expressions, animation. It doesn't always have to be text. We have to be more creative in the presentation of our research. And we have to use the technological revolution to our benefit to ensure vulnerable groups, example, persons with disabilities, can be included and access the information. So innovation is more about the people. The fulfillment of the SDGs must rely heavily on research and innovation, leaving no one behind. From conceptualization to dissemination of results is very critical. Research must be inclusive because, as the persons with disability tell us, nothing about us without us. And the last slide is just to tell us that research and innovation starts with each and every one of us. We begin with a self-assessment, critically examining how each and every one of us can improve our contribution to our family, to our workplace, to our community, to our country. Research and innovation is a personal responsibility, and this is how sustainable living and development will be attained. Thank you very much.